It's really like selling sand to the Arabs now at this stage. You know, we have a top quality product on our doorstep here, a complete natural resource, and we are going to import briquettes from Germany. We're going to put them on a lorry, bring them to a boat, put them on a lorry and deliver them to shops here. Where is the carbon footprint there? We must ask Eamon Ryan that.
Now to add insult to injuries, walking into a shop the other day and here I see stacked outside German imported brick. They're stopping us from making our brick and here they are bringing them over from Germany. And they'll tell you now that we're going to rehabilitate the bogs here and we're going to give part-time jobs to our workers. And what we're going to do is, this is the rehabilitated job to the bogs here to store carbon. But actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to rehabilitate the bog to store imported German carbon when they don't want us making our own briquettes. Now if that makes any sense to anybody, to anyone in a Green Party, to anyone in Friends of the Earth, well it certainly doesn't make any sense to me and it shouldn't make any sense to anyone else. It's madness. It's madness what they're making this up as it goes along.
What do you think the implications of this decision will be for the Midlands in general?
The implications for the Midlands, to put it on a par, it's the very same as taking Intel out of Lucan. That is, it would be catastrophic for the likes of Kildare or Dublin. It is the same for the Midlands. The Midlands are going to die a slow death by the closing down of Móna and the ESB. 2 power stations closed here last year. The amount of employment that was lost is unbelievable. And same thing again, there is no alternative to the employment that has been lost. It's going to push people more into Dublin, into urban areas to seek work. There is nothing in the Midlands. The government are making no effort to bring anything to the Midlands.
If there is no solid fuel, like what are people going to burn? That's what we want to know. After 2024, we've been told the factory will cease production after 2024 and we feel there's not enough peat out there to bring it up to 2024. So we want to know, what are people going to use to heat their homes? This is what I'm talking about, fuel poverty. We feel there's no sustainable alternative.
I'm angry at the way it was announced to us. It didn't come from the company, it came from the media. And I suppose since the senior management we have at the minute, since they came into power or have joined the company, all I've seen is the closure of 2 power stations, the stopping of peat harvesting, and now the announcement that their Loch briquette factory is going to close.
And naturally enough, we're very angry over this because we weren't informed, and we feel that there is no sustainable alternative to briquettes at the minute, and we feel that it is way too soon. Transition is being really forced on us.
As far as jobs are concerned, re-wetting is going to be done on a part-time basis. There is no permanent job in this for any of the Móna employees. There's actually even talks of privatising some of it to do it. Now that's a rumour. We don't know how true it is, but like if it goes down that road, there would definitely be no work for Móna employees. What we're asking is a bit of clarity and stuff. How long is it going to take to re-wet the bogs? Is it going to take the 2 or 3 years that we think it's going to take? And after that, the briquette factory will be closed. Is there a job for us? Because any job that's being advertised there at the moment, a person needs a degree or diploma to apply for them. There's nothing for the ordinary worker in Móna. We're going to be left on the scrap heap. Really and truly, on the scrap heap, that's where we are going to be left.
If Micheál Martin or Leo Varadkar bother to come down here and take a look around, there is nothing here in the Midlands. The 2 stations have closed, they're closing down Loch. Móna, DSB were the big employers around here. And I don't see governments or any government or any political party coming up with any alternative. There is no job losses, everything here. There's people here leaving their homes in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive to Dublin, to work in building sites, to work in factories. There is nothing coming into the Midlands. And it'll be, the tumbleweed will roll down the roads here. And there's nothing here for young communities, young families. There's no reason for any young fella to build a home here.
What do you think this says about the government's treatment of rural Ireland in general. Obviously, before we saw the tractor protests about the beef issues and so on, do you think that there's a pattern of the government neglecting rural Ireland in the Midlands?
Absolutely. We're really not expecting a whole lot from Micheál Martin, Leo Varadkar or Eamon Ryan, because to be honest I don't think they have the manner or the respect for the people of the Midlands to do anything about this. But we are calling on our local politicians. We're calling on the likes of our Barry Cowns, our Brian Stanleys. Sinn Féin were put into a position that they can actually, they're the main opposition party in this country, and they've said nothing about this. I'm calling on them to highlight it. I'm calling on Brian Stanley, the likes of Matt Carty, people that have a voice in this country, to bring this to the front.
We've heard very little from our local representatives, apart from Karen Nolan. Our own local TDs here haven't really voiced their opinions on it. They're staying very quiet on it, which is very, very, very disappointing. We actually have TDs from outside our constituency, the likes of Michael Healy-Rae and Michael Fitzmaurice, making a bit of noise about this, which is very, very disappointing in my view.
I'm probably one of the lucky ones, but like there's young people there and they depend on this job and they depend on this industry, and it's being whipped out from under their feet without giving them any chance. And it's been announced in the media, they're given no chance to put their points across or to fight this. It's just been closed down without any concern for them people at all. The workers are absolutely, they're being treated like dirt as far as I'm concerned.
How has it affected your life, these decisions, and could you tell us a bit about your personal story as regards what this is going to mean for your future?
Well, it's very uncertain. It's the uncertainty of it. Do you know what I mean? Like I have a young family. I have to put them through college yet. I don't know whether I'm going to have a job in 2 years or 3 years' time when it's time to educate them.
Well, no more than most of the people in Móna at this stage. We have a mortgage, we have young children, we have bills, commitments to look after. At the end of all this, yes, people will say, oh yeah, you'll get in a redundancy out of it. Redundancy doesn't last too long. What do you buy over redundancy? You probably buy a car and go on a holiday and it's gone. We need something. We want to work. We need work. We can't survive in the Midlands without a bit of work, and they are going to have to put a small bit of infrastructure into this. They need to think, they need to take it back to the table, and they need to think this out a little bit better than they do, because it's just being pushed through, rushed through, and they're going to make a shambles of it. And the next thing, Móna will come out and say, look, I'm sorry, but we calculated this wrong, we don't have enough peat. There's going to be a fuel poverty for all people. You cannot even access a bale of briquettes now unless it's a German one. It doesn't make any economic sense, no common sense, no brains.
Many jobs will be lost in the head of this. Many have been already lost. And the workers are in limbo. They don't know from day to day how long they really have. Móna have made an announcement that Derrenlough Briquette factory will continue until 2024. But, you know, the workers don't know whether to trust that or not. And I mean, their trust has been broken because they were the last people to hear about the ending of peat harvesting. It was actually printed in a national paper. So there's a lot of concern and a lot of workers feeling very anxious. And no matter how well government tried to greenwash this whole policy, it just is failing people. It's leaving people behind and it's unnecessary. Originally the plan was that the transition was to be up to 2030, and now they're trying to do that in a couple of months. So I, as a TD here in Offaly, I'm extremely concerned. I want to get the best for communities here, and I want to make sure that there is real employment here. And that's my fear, is that because there's no alternative jobs, we will see a spike in unemployment again. And Offaly is a county that suffered dreadfully from high unemployment over the years. Many decades we had high unemployment, and we have the second rate of lowest disposable income in the state. And I mean, this green agenda will not create jobs. You know, it's creating handfuls of specialist jobs, but it's letting down those people, you know, hard-working people who've been a loyal workforce for Móna for decades. You know, they feel let down and thrown on the scrap heap in certain respects. And they are trying to obviously put their families through college and do the best that they can. But in order to plan ahead, it's very difficult. And I suppose the other issue I've had brought to me is that a lot of part-time farmers were also seasonal workers with Bord na Móna. So with farming incomes falling and with the price of beef falling dramatically in the last few weeks per kilogram, it has fallen, there's huge concern, you know, in terms of how do they bring in an income. There are skilled people, dedicated, hard-working people, but because farming income is falling and now Bord na Móna is in jeopardy and Bord na Móna jobs are in jeopardy because government is not standing up and stepping up to the plate, nor are the TDs in this county. They're more or less resigned to the fact that this is a done deal, and I don't believe that that's the approach to adopt. I think that Bord na Móna should recommence peat harvesting. To be fair to these workers, it was very unfair what was done, and I believe that the recommencement of peat harvesting must take place. There's definitely a pattern, and rural Ireland is being let down. That's all of the time that I see this, and certainly as a TD, you know, in the rural independent group, we see this all the time, and we find ourselves working in isolation on issues, whether it be the beef, whether it be fairness for beef and suckler farmers, or getting fairness in terms of the schemes, the beam scheme or the different schemes coming forward, or indeed the independent regulator for beef and transparency in the beef sector. There is absolutely no appetite to tackle these issues, and that worries me greatly, because the people of rural Ireland have votes and they elected the TDs to do a job, but they're clearly not representing them, and there is only a small, strong minority of TDs willing to stand up on these issues, and there is a pattern where we see and we find ourselves that we're the only ones standing up time after time in the rural independent group.
Tom Donnellan is here 2 years and he almost has Bord na Móna closed down. So look, that decision needs to be reversed. It needs to be reversed big time until we find an alternative. If we can find an alternative, fair enough, we will phase it out. But until there's an alternative got in this country, we need to keep our peat harvest going. And we need one this year, and we need it fairly rapid.